The Acting Brunch.
Hey John, thanks for joining me today on the Acting Brunch. How are you doing?
Yeah, no problem at all. It's
Good.
always a pleasure to be asked to this sort of thing, and yeah, no, I'm doing well and I'm ticking along nicely. It's nice to have the world waking up a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, man. Fantastic. So I've been really looking forward to chatting to you because we've met on probably a handful of occasions, but we've never really had to have a good conversation. And I think it's through social media because we're connected on that. You sort of see everyone, how everyone's getting on. You feel like you know them more than you do. But I've loved
Yeah.
seeing because I love looking at people's successes, and I've noticed that you've been doing some really cool stuff of late, and probably in the last just before the pandemic, and also especially now. And I just really wanted to chat to you about that because you've got some really cool credits, such as I want to reel off a couple of TV ones off your CV, such
It's
as
better it's better if you drop it if you name drop rather than I
yeah,
do.
I'll do your name dropping for you later. But things, Gentleman Jack, Victoria, Last Tango in Halifax, Hollyoaks, the other one, Brassic, and I know recently you've been filming on Coronation Street as well. So I love that, and I love the fact that I know you're somebody who works and grafts hard for your own opportunities as well. You're not someone who sits and waits by the phone for things to happen. So just really wanted to speak about your process and that. But yeah, gonna you to set the table. You're an actor. You're a filmmaker, director, writer yourself,
Mhm.
and a qualified lawyer, which it's like
Well,
to tap on.
I always like to temper that because like my practice
Okay.
certificate has definitely expired, so I am an ex-qualified lawyer. So yeah, no one come to me for legal advice because it will not be official.
But yeah, so just I'm going to start off with just cliche question for you regarding your journey in acting. Is acting something you've done since you were young, or is it something you came into late in life? Because I do know that you did switch from careers, but was acting something that you went into, or was it something from before then?
I've always loved it. I could tell you almost probably the moment that I kind of fell in love with it. I'd always enjoyed watching films growing up and stuff with my
Hmm.
family. Some of my earliest memories are watching the 1968, I think it is, version of Oliver with an exclamation mark. So
Yeah, you were
Oliver
the next
from
one. Yeah,
1968. So it's the
the
Lionel
60.
Barr musical version with not Adrian Lester. He's from Hustle.
It is
Mark
Leicester.
Lester.
Mark Leicester, yeah, Mark
I think
Leicester.
it's Mark Lester
Yeah,
and Oliver Reed playing Bill Sykes.
fantastic.
And I used to watch that on VHS with my family, like every year at Christmas. We used to sit and we used to know all the songs off by heart and everything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I remember when I was 10 years old, I went to see the big school, the school I was at primary. The big school always put on big school plays.
Mm.
And I went to see, they put on Oliver. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to go
Yeah.
and see this.
Uh,
And I went and I just sat there like starry-eyed little kid in like my knee-high socks and my shorts, watching this production, and I was that enthralled by it that I went backstage, and I say backstage, I went to like the corridor behind where they put the play on,
uh,
and I remember as a 10-year-old lad, I went and got the autograph of the guy who played Fagin. Now,
okay.
bear in mind, this is some sixth former at
Yeah.
school doing the school play, and I'm there like, "Hey, mate, can I have your autograph?" And it was a guy called Tom Burgess. It was lovely, but like, I absolutely, from that minute, I couldn't wait to get to the big school
Yeah. Yeah.
and get in the plays myself. And I did school plays every year at secondary school. Ended up directing as well in my sixth form because no teachers had the time to really run the play, so we took it on, a few students.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did a lot at uni, and then it was only after uni that I completely dropped it for 5 years. Didn't do a single thing
Okay.
because I was off getting a proper job,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
qualifying as a lawyer, passing all my exams, and starting work. But then I just came back into it on very randomly. There was a mate of mine from uni who I was in a couple of plays with, who had his own little mini production company, worked in TV, and he says, "Hi, mate, are you still in Manchester?" I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Are you still an actor?" I was like, "No, I'm a lawyer now, and it's great." So he was like, "Because I've written this short film, and I think you'd be good for the lead." So I was like, "All right then." So I said yes, and I spent 4 days with him filming this short film, which to date is one of my most horrendous performances I've ever seen on screen. But that kind of it woke it up again because my
Yeah.
day job was so miserable. I hated it. And all of a sudden, started going for Act for TV, I started at Aqua Tribe in Knutsford, then I went to Act for TV in Manchester, then MAP, And then it just kind of all started. I realized at the age of 29 was when I quit my job. And that it was all I've ever wanted to do. So that's kind of the short and long version of the story.
Yeah, no, that's amazing though. And I think as you said, once you started doing those classes again and things and you're getting into it, it's like thinking, can I, the path you'd taken with your daytime job or your civilian job, as we to call it, but really when you've done that and you realize it's not what you want to do, your passions with acting, and when you took the leap to quit your job, was it obviously it's a hard decision to make, because especially when you're trying to balance between being an actor and start your journey. What was the defining moment for you that made you go, right, I'm done, I'm quitting, I'm going to go all steam ahead?
Yeah. Well, I've literally told the story a million times, but I won't give you the full version because it's boring for non-lawyers. But basically, I just had, there was this epiphany moment, and people always say, like, were you scared? Was it terrifying for you when you took the leap? And I was like, genuinely, no, just because I had this moment where things had been really, really tough at work for a while, really tough, and I was working every hour that God sent. I was working weekends, through my lunches, late at night.
Yeah.
And there just came a moment where something went wrong on one of my files that I was running on behalf of the partner that I was working for. And as a result of that, I got pulled into a meeting with the partner I work for, as well as the overall department supervisor. And I just basically, long story short, in that meeting, the partner I'd been working with had been saying for months that our team and our department was overworked. We had far too much work. We had to stop saying yes to work coming into the department because we couldn't balance it all. It had never stopped. More work was coming every single week, and I, at my experience level, was struggling. I don't mind admitting that. So it was a case of not if, but when something was going to go wrong. So something got wrong in this case, and I kind of, in this meeting, there was just the three of us, and I expected my boss, who I got on very well with, to kind of have my back a little bit. And although something had gone wrong, he'd been saying for months that we're under the cosh, we're going to start saying no to work. And he basically threw me under the bus. And I walked out of that meeting. It was a Thursday afternoon, and he'd talk about fear, or it was quite a calm decision. I walked out of that meeting and I was just like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Wow.
And I decided so I went into work the following day, and I went into work on the Monday because I decided I was not going to quit my job until I'd told my mum and dad. So I went over for dinner with them on the Monday night after work. Took me hours at their house. I couldn't tell them right away. I went for a run. I had almost a whole bottle of wine drinking with them. I had like main course, dessert, and I'm sitting and I'm like, John, just tell them. Just tell them. And then I just told them, and they even said to me, they were just like, you know what, John, I expected them to be a bit obviously worried, but I thought they might be a bit angry, but they were just like, you know what, you seem pretty sure this time, John. And I went,
yeah. Amazing.
And that was it. I handed my notice in the following day, and the rest history.
Yeah, it must have felt very liberating, when you did that one.
It was because I handed my notice in, and then there was all panic stations thinking what we're going to do and all this. And the same department supervisor who was in the meeting that I'd had came over, and all of a sudden she's all smiles and oh John, yeah, we're so saddened to hear all this. And I'm like, be quiet. And then they gave me 2 weeks off, 2 weeks paid leave, just to go off and just get my head together and decide whether it's really what I wanted before they put anything in place. And I can honestly say that for not 1 second of that 2 week period did I consider withdrawing that notice.
Yeah.
Because I just started thinking, what should I do with my life? What do I enjoy? This is like, I knew I was so comfortable with the decision that I had to just let it play out.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great, that, man. It's great because like a lot of people can relate to being in situations and careers they don't want to be in, and I love the way you've done that. It's so cool. But so once you've quit now, look what you've left that industry. You know, be pushing forward your acting. What was your initial sort of months and hustle like at the start? You know, that did you have an agent at that time, or was that something you needed to get? Was you just doing classes? Was you getting involved in projects? You know, what was going on
Yeah.
when it
I,
first
I,
happened?
I think it can. I think it'd be remiss of me to not say that I kind of landed on my feet very luckily in those first couple of months, because I had a housemate at the time in my flat who happened to be the son of someone who owns an agency in Manchester and has done for years and
Wow.
years and
Okay.
years. So not only did I basically, I remember the 5th of September, Monday the 5th of September 2016, I was sat on my sofa like in mid shorts and just like, right, shall I go for the dole yet or no? What should I do with my life? And I remember he came home like that night, I think it was, and says, "Oh, what are you doing tomorrow?" I was like, "I have no idea." and he was like, "Well, because we've just had someone let us down in the office. Do you want to come in and help out?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Well, I've not got anything else to do." So I ended up working at that agency for 3 days a week for a year. But the good thing was that I obviously, the main agent at that agency sat 2 seats away from me, and I was there all day, every day, listening to breakdowns, conversations, seeing audition tapes, and all that. So I'd been unemployed for 1 day before I then headed back in working for the agency. And then about a month later, I kind of had the conversation. Says, "Oh well, I'm an actor as well. Do you fancy taking me on?" And I can't remember if I auditioned. I think I did audition. I already had some showreel stuff on tap.
Yeah.
So got taken on, and then that was that. I think I had my first professional credit in the November, which was 2 months after I quit, because there was an Arts Council funded play at 53.2.
Oh yeah.
Which was phenomenal, and I got cast in that, and
Wow.
that took up my first month, I think I had, of rehearsals and performances. So yeah, and it was paid.
Wow. That's amazing. I love 53 I must say as well, because I know they've just reopened again, haven't they, in Manchester, which is great.
Yeah, I've
Which is
not
great
yet
news.
had a chance to get down to the new space. I mean, obviously I've seen it all over socials, and I can't wait to get down, because it's like, considering my journey, if you want to put it like that, but my journey and path into like 53.2 and Simon and Alex and Map are fundamental to my journey. And in those early months and years, I ended up working behind the bar for them for a year or whatever.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm glad that they're back, because it's good to come out of a pandemic and know that 53.2 is back as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's so good. I can't wait to get down there myself. I've been away, so I haven't had a chance to get down there the past week, but I'm looking forward to getting down there. But that's great. So did you were doing plays, when in terms of like your first TV credit, what was your first sort of big credit for yourself? Because that must have been, the thrill of that must have been incredible.
Well, yeah, it was amazing. So I did, so luckily again, it was 7 months. I've been going 7 months when I got my first lines on TV. And it happened in a bit of a roundabout way. I think someone was, I'm not a religious guy, but someone was looking at me, because the agency I was working at in the day, they dealt with all the extras and supporting artists for Victoria.
Okay.
And they came, hang on, what happened? So I think my then agent said to me, like, "Oh yeah, John, there's a couple of roles here that are like what I didn't really know at the time, but it was a walk on 3 or something, walk on 2, walk on 3, with like one line, would you be interested?" And this was my agent saying to me, like, "Would you be interested?" As if I was some sort of diva who was gonna say, "Oh no, unless I'm the lead, I really don't care." I was like, I don't care what I'm doing. If you put me on a TV set, I'm pretty much bite your hand off.
Yeah.
So so luckily they had for Victoria, because obviously it's a period drama, they want to be historically accurate. And they had a painting of the then Speaker of the House of Commons in Queen Victoria's reign.
Yeah.
And I quite look like him.
No way.
So they had this painting of this speaker, and I got the role as a walk on 3 essentially because they put me in a wig and a robe, and I'm done. It's so
brilliant.
So all of a sudden, like a week later, I'm on set, and it was I'll never forget, my first ever lines on TV was just me sat there going, "Order, order, order." I think it was, or was it So basically, I did a day just in Ripon Cathedral with 200 extras, all the big crew, sat on my throne in the House of Commons, yelling order, order, order about 200, 500 times.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And then the following day I was in the office, and they said, oh, would John be willing to do a self-tape for the same character in a couple of weeks' time? And I was like, yeah. So I obviously got the part because I'd already been in the show then as the speaker. So one day I was sitting on the extras bus and with 200 extras and just like saying one line. 2 weeks later, I was credited cast member with my own trailer, and I had 7 lines and a close-up at the end of the day.
Amazing.
So, and I was like in the car with the leads getting taken from the hotel, this 5-star hotel in York and all this stuff, and it was a little bit weird. But the one of the main reasons I also remember that my main big lines on TV, that's 6-7 lines. The night before, so I was like, I had to be up at like 4 or 5 in the morning. So I was getting all my stuff ready. I was going to go to bed at like 10 o'clock. I remember I was in bed at 10 and I'm just putting my head down and my phone starts going mad. And I'm like, oh, come on. I'm up at like 4 or 5. And all my mates were talking about the fact that there was some sort of stuff going on at the MEN Arena in Manchester.
Oh, right. I'm following you. Yeah.
And people thought, oh, they think it's a balloon. They think something. And so all of a sudden, I mean, I adore my home city. I love where I've grown up. I'm born and raised here. And so when all that was kind of kicking off and I was chatting to them and I ended up going back downstairs. I was in the lounge watching Sky News till about 1, 2 in the morning, watching all that news come in, just horrified. And then I got like a couple of hours kip. And I remember driving to Ripon to do my first lines on TV, feeling very eerie, and like there was obviously the news, the radio was talking all about the stories coming in, and it was actually quite nice in a weird way that no one I knew or was related to were affected. So like touch wood, I was okay. But it was just something it was kind of quite a nice escapist, go off and be in Victorian period drama for the day, and when I drove back, I remember driving down the motorway and they had all the I Heart MCR signs up above the motorway, and then I went to the vigil in Albert Square, and that was my day. So it was
wow,
a bit of a strange day. My first line on TV.
Yeah, very strange. Because that's hard. Just thinking about how heartbreaking all that was, and you probably, it just helped you having that little bit of time just to. Initially, just away from that, but
you see, you weren't expecting that sort of story when you asked me that question.
Certainly wasn't. But
so shall I tell a joke now?
Let's go straight onto a joke. But so moving on from there, like obviously it's I think when it's building TV credits up is always important to then help you to get to the next one. Did you start to get more auditions coming through then? Did more opportunities start coming your way, did you find, or was it just
absolutely not?
Nothing happened.
Like I think the big and again I can't fully remember what order everything came in, so I can't remember what my next, I think it might have been Emmerdale after that, but I can't really remember. But there's this misconception, I think, that people need to, and look, I never want to sit on social media and tell people how to do their careers. That's never been my vibe. I can tell you what worked for me, but it could work a million different ways. But I just think there's a misconception out there that as soon as you've done TV, it's like the gateway to all the rest of your TV. That is absolute rubbish.
Doesn't happen.
Like there is a billion people getting TV jobs every day and all hustling at the same time. And if you think because you've done a line on Corrie that all of a sudden Hollywood is going to come knocking, you are sadly mistaken. Absolutely. You're in for a very rude awakening. So yeah, it was just basically, right, I've done that. That's made me think this would be really cool to do for a living. I want to keep doing this. And then it was just keep on working and keep on networking and hustling and see what I can get.
Yeah, absolutely. You said once you get that, once the job's done, and it's lovely when people say, oh, you're going to be, we're going to see that you're on TV and stuff. You're thinking, as an actor, we're just thinking of the next job straight away, and that's how you've got to be, and the next, or whatever you've got to do to create opportunities and stuff. So
there was a piece of advice that I was given when I was first starting out, which was from a very good friend of mine who I won't name drop, but he knows who he is. But he's he basically said to me, he says, John, what you've always got to be thinking about when you're acting, you've got to think about your pipeline.
Yeah.
So it's you're not thinking about, you are focusing on the job you're on. Obviously, you're doing your job, but you can't be so lost in it that it's basically all that's going on.
Yeah.
You've got to be thinking about what you're doing after that, and after that, and after that.
Yeah.
You've got to think, what have I got scattered around the next few months? What am I working towards over the next few months? You can't really just lose yourself too much, because you've always got to be thinking that what's the next thing? What's the next thing after that?
100%. No, that's great advice, that actually. And for you, did you start to because I know you've regarding you, I'm really interested in the writing side and the fact you have you written. I know you again at the moment in writing short films, etc. But you've done theatre as well. I believe you written some theatre pieces
so
too.
I wrote 2 full-length plays. So I basically did. When did I start writing that? It was basically while so while I was working at the agency, I just, like, obviously I'd worked in a legal office for 6-8 years. Like, I mean, talk about dry. Like, I mean, with no disrespect to them, I mean, you go from a legal office to an acting and modeling agency. These are slightly different worlds. And I was just fascinated by everything that was going on, all the people that were coming in and out the doors, the stories that you were hearing. So what I initially did, this is a trip down memory lane for me. I've forgotten half of this has happened. So what I originally did, I went to a few acting classes, paid acting classes here, there, and everywhere. And I got to the stage where I was like, okay, great. I just kind of semi feel that I'm just paying money here, and it's almost routine. This is why I'm doing this. And I started to think, look, I just want to keep acting, keep my muscles going, and keep working. So I reached out to about 5 or 6 of my close acting friends who I knew and I trusted. And I says, look, we're not going to pay for tutors or people to tell us how to act and all this stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to club together and spend a couple of pound a week, not 25, 30 pounds a week. We're going to spend a couple of pounds a week on renting a room. And we're going to meet once a week. And every single week, people have to bring a script for 2 men, 2 women, and a man and a woman. Any genre from theatre, film, or TV. We're going to all get in a room together, and we're basically, I'll just oversee it, like logistically manage it. But then we'll get in and we'll just get up. We'll give people feedback on things. We'll keep our muscles fresh and keep going. So we started doing that, and we did that for a couple of months, I think. And then my brain started ticking, and I was like, I really started to enjoy it that much that I was like, should we put a play? Should we put a play on? That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it? So then I was thinking, what could I do? And it was all those stories that were coming through from the agency and everything, and that just thought, well, I'm living that life at the moment, so that'd be quite fun. So I just started writing a play, and I'd take like 20 pages into class, if you want to call it class, every week, and we'd give it a few reads and we'd see, does this work? Does this not work? And also it was a comedy. And then I put it on stage the following year in the pod at 53.2, so the smaller space. I think it was 50 seaters. So it wasn't in the official Fringe, but it was in the July program at 53.2, and we had an absolute blast. And it was just really, like, it was just anecdotal, quirky nonsense, just following a bunch of crazy acting agents and actors. It was great.
That's brilliant.
But I ended up, because I hadn't put it in the official Fringe. So what I did was I stepped away from it and I actually tweaked the entire script, and put it in the official Fringe the following year, and we put it on at the King's Arms as part of the actual Fringe. Changed a couple of the cast and reworked it and put it on again, and we had another 3 top nights.
Amazing. That's so good. I love the way how it started as well, and the idea is getting together with your friends and doing the room that way. Amazing one. So what did so once you putting the plays on, when did you start writing your first film? So whether was it a short you started off with, or was it have you done?
So I basically in September, October 2018, I decided what had I done by that stage? Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot here. I can't remember my own life. So I basically, at some point, that was it. Right, I'm caught up now. So I'm at old age. I'm 33 now. So I had starred in a short film called Confinement, which was about it was me and a girl called Nicole Evans, who I think you know.
I know Nicole. Yeah.
Me and Nicole were we were like, we woke up in a situation where we're handcuffed to two white chairs and we're all dressed in white, and I don't really know why I'm there, and it was really great. And we filmed it across I think 2 days in Media City, and it was with a bunch of FutureWorks students, and some of which are now some of my best friends. I'm actually drinking with one of them on Saturday. I'll name drop him, Sean. Yeah, he's a Man United fan, but apart from that, he's a good lad. So I started in that, and that's I started to get fascinated by it. I realized that my love of film and acting and drama and theatre and everything, I loved it so much that there wasn't one aspect of this that I didn't have an interest in.
Yeah.
It was like if there was a leaf I could pick up. That's not a phrase. If turn over a new leaf, pick a page. I'm trying to speak cliches. I'm trying to speak in cliches. I'm trotting over myself. But no, so if there was a little corner of the industry that I could get a little peek at, I wanted to know. So I mean, I've been a subscriber to Empire magazine for about 15 years. So I love reading about films and process and everything. So on the back of that, I then decided that I would take a 2-year TV and film production diploma at FutureWorks.
Brilliant, yeah.
So so I was going once, twice a week in the evenings, and learning all about cameras and shots and lighting and sound and edit and everything.
Yeah.
So through that course, I started writing a few tiny little showreel scenes and stuff for acting mates, just a dead easy setup with a camera and just and getting down and dirty with actors, and it's just it just kind of got me going a little bit of seeing things from the conception of idea right the way through to delivery. And they were only like 2.5 minutes, but then in order to finalize your mark on that course, you had to come up with a short film of, I think it was somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes. So I'd done about, I want to say 7, 8, maybe little short 2-minute, 2.5 minute things for actors. But then I don't know where the idea for Last Stand came from, which was my war film. But I wrote a version of this story set in the fields of Dunkirk in 1914? No, 1940. Jesus, I was in the wrong war.
It's wrong war. Yeah, I was thinking
Yeah, wow, that's good, isn't it? Yes, it was set in the right year. I have fact checked it. No, yeah, so it was 1940, Dunkirk, and I came up with this story around these two soldiers, and I wrote the script, and I was really pleased with it, and I wanted to film it in summer 2019. So I approached a DOP who'd worked with me on Confinement, and I knew very well. And I says, "Hey, should we get this done?" He fell in love with the idea and fell in love with the script, but thought we could do this better. So can we park this for a little bit? Let's film something else now, and we'll film this later when it's better. And I was like, dude, I want the cameras to roll in like a month. Like I can't, I've not got any other ideas. So I basically went away and I came up with this stupid idea like in a couple of days and wrote a new short film, and we were in front of cameras in like 3-4 weeks after that. We had a 10-minute short film, cast of 8, I think it was. And that was really quirky. It's basically based on a guy is on the way to propose to his girlfriend, on the way to a picnic, and he's got a basket in his hand. I'm not going to give you too many spoilers, but he's got a basket in his hand on the way to propose. He's checking out a girl who's running past, and then she drops her keys. As a result, he picks up the keys, legs it, and knocks himself out on a tree, and then goes to this weird dreamscape place, and things take a turn. So I filmed that, but then Last Stand did actually get in front of the cameras last year during the pandemic, so that was good.
Pandemic time. Did it's mad that pandemic as well, because it sounded like leading up to that, it was great that you were involved in them projects. Did you find because you did I loved the scene you did on Gentleman Jack. I watched that series, and I loved the costume and everything about it. But so when you did that obviously that was pre-pandemic. Did you what was the other one I was going to ask you about as well? Because you did was it Last Tango in Halifax as well? Were they was that pre-pandemic as well? Did you find that things were happening a lot before then? Yeah.
Well, I basically, like, people always say, oh, you had a great, like, people were saying to me last year, you had a great year last year, didn't you? Meaning 2019. And I was like, yeah, I did. I absolutely did. But all of my 4 2019 TV credits happened in a 6-week period.
Wow, really?
I literally, like, there was one week where I remember I was in my trailer was it the other one? Or was it Brassic? I can't remember. I was in my trailer for one of them, and I remember I had barely any lines. So I was learning my lines for Hollyoaks, like, in the trailer, because I knew I was on Hollyoaks like the day after the next day. So it literally, that was all autumn 2019. I think it was between September and November. I think I got all of those.
Yeah, that's it. But it looks obviously, but it's still, I mean, it's still fantastic that you got them all around the same time. But yeah, was you, again, everyone was different when the pandemic hit, like in 2020. Did you find it was you able to continue yourself by doing, it affected a lot of people where people were just, didn't do anything and lost a bit of hope, etc. But I noticed that you were doing things, or you were still trying to keep yourself active. What type of things did you do, acting wise or writing wise, to keep yourself going during that time?
Well, it's always difficult talking about the pandemic, because look, I know that it affected everyone in completely different ways, and I've always found myself, I mean, look, I wouldn't have got through as many years as a lawyer than I did if I didn't work quite strongly on a bit of a glass half full mentality. And I do always try and take the positive approach in things. And during the pandemic, I was like, I mean, this is affecting absolutely everyone here. There's not one person in the world practically that this isn't affecting. So there's no point kind of sitting and moaning and going, woe is me about it, because you can guarantee there's 1,000 people in a mile radius of you who are suffering worse.
Exactly.
So climb off your little pity party and just kind of get on with it. So I would get up most days, and I got into a really good structure with it. I would get up and almost do a full working day like I would do as a lawyer, but at my desk. So I'd get up and do a bit of exercise, have some breakfast, and then I would be at my desk. And I basically spent the first few months of the pandemic reaching out to, well, I came up with a database on Excel of all casting directors, associates, assistants, all their offices, all their email addresses, things they've worked on, whether I've met them, whether I've not, all this. And then I was also, because me and a good friend of mine, we started to go to a lot of casting workshops. And people have got different views on casting workshops. For me, I'm a huge advocate of them, because
me too.
I just think, again, you can go to an acting class for 4 weeks and obviously it can help you train, it can help you network, it can help. So that can have its benefits for certain people. But casting workshops for me if you're going to act in front of anyone, why not let it be someone who can potentially, if all the planets align, they could just get you in a room or get you in a job. So I met a lot of them, because the good thing was the whole industry was struggling for stuff to do. So I met about, I think my final number was about 40 to 45 casting directors in the pandemic, over Zoom, and then following up on email and everything. So, and then I watched, largely for the entire pandemic, I watched one film every night, pretty much. I think I watched 157 films between 23rd of March and New Year's Eve.
Just 157. That's
157.
Brilliant.
It was almost one a night, but not quite. I think it was one every couple of nights. But
awesome.
So I stayed productive, and I made what I consider to be the best of a horrific situation.
Brilliant. No, that's awesome, man. And since, as everything's, I mean, obviously the way the world's still to an extent gone, as we've been coming out of things. I've seen you've been getting yourself involved 2021 in a lot of projects. What's because you in TV wise, I know you were filming on Coronation Street late, which is fantastic, especially as a Mancunian as well, to be on.
I finally got that. I finally scratched that itch. I was like, what am I doing wrong? I've lived here all my life. Everyone I know has been in this show. What can I do? And then, yeah, I was glad to that was something I had to go through. I felt like it was a rite of passage.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I loved it. I loved your seeing your post. It was great. I love seeing that. So that's been a cool thing that's happened. What are you involved in at the moment, writing wise, and what projects are you working on at the moment? You did Noir, the theatre, the theatre where they've filmed it as well,
stage,
which is out now. Yeah, so that looks really cool as well. What kind of projects have you been involved in? What's coming out for you this year that you know of so far?
Well, I've got, I mean, quite a lot. Luckily, I've basically, it's almost like I've woken up. It's like I've come out of hibernation. I think the whole world has.
Yeah.
But I've been absolutely relentless over the last few months. I've basically not stopped since 28th of March, I think. So we're now, April, 2 and a bit months. I've been non-stop. I've been working on different projects every week.
Yeah.
I'm knackered. But it's the thing is, what I've done is that I work very, 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 very hard. And so any single thing that I see anywhere on social media or anything that fits my brief whatsoever, I will ping an email. It will be a personalized email. It won't be send to all. I'll have engaged with the project. I'll engage with why I think it's suitable for me. I'll highlight which credits I think are suitable for that project, which maybe put me in the shop window more than some others. And then see what happens. And I'll click send and I'll move on and I'll see what happens. And for whatever reason, not only have I been managing to almost get every part I've gone up for on a personal basis over the last few months, but the dates have seemed to just all slot together. So I've managed to actually have this blissful period where, although I'm exhausted, I've literally I've not had to really pull out of anything. I've managed to do everything that I've set my mind to over the last 2 and a bit months, which is great.
Yeah.
I did have to, I must admit, I'm the lead in a short film in Liverpool, which I'm loving. I've got the last day of filming on Sunday, and it's the biggest culmination scene of the whole thing, and it's the 5th day of filming, and I can't wait. But we were meant to finish it last weekend, and when I got tickets to the Champions League final to go and see my team, Man City, lose. So they actually, luckily, the whole crew were football fans, and the director was a Man City fan, one of the directors.
Yeah.
So I went to them cap in hand and said, "Hi guys, you know how you've arranged locations, co-stars, crew, everything around my availability? Is there any chance you could rearrange 2 days?" And bless them, they absolutely rearranged the whole production around me going to Porto. And then we lost, but we won't dwell on that.
Yeah, listen, as an Evertonian, I can only dream about even getting there. So
I mean, not to go off topic, I could chat all day, but I mean, my heart is with you guys at losing Ancelotti on such short basis.
I was devastated. I was really gutted.
Wants to see the new stadium, does he? Well,
right, yeah, that much. Yeah, he was off.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, I could talk about that all day. But yeah, no, that's awesome. That's great. But I think I was going to say to you as well, what in terms of you can only really say, as you said, that what works for you, and the proof is already in what you've just said. You graft hard, you work hard, and what comes from it is from the work the fruits of your labor is what you've put in, which I think is amazing, and it's a really good. It just shows that's what you've got to do, and to be an actor and to get where you want to be. Going forward, what have you got any sort of ideas? Have you got any sort of, whether it be a film or anything that you're either writing at the moment, or is there anything you'd love to be working on?
So I've got I'm never happy unless I'm working on a load of things at once. Like I think it comes from when I was a lawyer. I used to have, at any one time, I had 120 of my own cases rumbling at exactly the same time, and So I'm used to kind of juggling a lot of things. So I kind of like it when my plate's very busy.
Yeah.
So what, alongside all my acting gigs, all short films and things, and then a couple of TV gigs, I will always have things that I'm working on, my own little projects in the background.
Yeah.
So I realized through the course of my filmmaking diploma that ironically there's a hell of a lot of aspects of filmmaking that I don't like, that I don't enjoy, they're not my natural vibe. So I am not with the technology. I would be happy if I don't touch a camera. It doesn't bother me. Like I'd be happy if I don't edit again, you know what I mean? But I love conceiving an idea, writing, directing, producing, logistically bringing teams together and making things happen. I adore, and I love dealing with actors obviously as well. So I did plenty of things where I was holding the camera, but I want to kind of step away from that a little bit, and I want to keep working with really hot DOPs and soundies and VFX and really good people that I can be the linchpin that makes the team work, but I'm not the one pressing the buttons. So I watched the Crown series 4 in like October, November, and so my first ever TV audition ever was for the Crown series 2.
Oh wow, okay.
And it was for a line on series 2, and I didn't get it, and it was fine. I didn't get it. I was new, and then I got invited to audition for series 3 as well for a 4-scene role, and I didn't get that, and I was like, oh come on. Didn't get an audition for series 4. That's fine, but I was like, there's something about the Crown and me that is not going away.
Yeah.
So I watched the Crown series 4, and I decided, right, I'm going to write a scene based on the Crown, and I'm going to get it filmed and made. So we wrote it, and I got a crew together in December, got a location in Knutsford, and we filmed that. So I even got my DOP to watch one of my favorite episodes of The Crown called Aberfan Series 3, Episode 3, to get the shot list built and the design of the shots and everything, and built the scene around it, looking as much like The Crown as possible.
Yeah.
So I did that in December. Then in early this year, I randomly watched Marriage Story, Revolutionary Road, and The Notebook. The Notebook, I am late to the party. I'm about 15 years after its release, never watched it. So all of a sudden I was like, oh, hang on, I'll write something like romantic and angsty and dramatic. Yeah. So I wrote something called Time and Time Again, and we shot that up a hill in Macclesfield at the end of March. I've just been with my editor today, talking about the final mix on that. I've got my soundie to speak to, I think, tomorrow. So that's there. And then the next thing that I'm hoping to get done at the moment is I watched in 2021 the whole of series 1 to 6 of Line of Duty.
Oh, class. Yeah.
And I've written 11 pages so far of essentially what's going to be a Line of Duty episode, but in 15 to 20 minutes. That's my goal. Mm-hmm. The annoying thing is I've got 2 scenes left to do, and it's the culmination of the whole story. And I've had to just go back to the drawing board on it, because I've got pieces of paper going like, right, so he did the crime then, and he met him then, so then, but this witness doing this, and he's this age, but so no, he would be too old to be his son, and then this, and I'm like, seriously, if anyone pulls apart Jed Mercurio, I can't stand it. You know what? Yeah. He's given you 6 years of flipping top class drama that's kept you on the edge of your seat. Exactly. Never underestimate how flipping difficult this is. I can't even get 15 minutes to make sense. So I'm hoping to do that. Maybe I want to say July. I'll have to speak to my DOP. I've already got him locked in. And then I've got another short that I've had rumbling through my head for about 2-3 years. I've done a location recce on it. I've got most of the script written, and we're hoping to shoot that in Warrington in the autumn.
Amazing. Oh, that's great. I love the way you're on the grind constantly, and
I don't have one day of the week when I don't do something work related.
Good. That's amazing, man. That's amazing. So, and I think again, it's inspiring to do that, and it just shows you what it takes. You've got to graft so hard, and you've got to do that. Have you got anything coming that you'd like to sort of promote at the moment?
I think the main thing at the minute is that Noir is on sale, and so it's with a company called Vertigo Theatre Productions, and they actually approached me in about, I want to say late November, early December, and they needed someone to fill this role of Cliff Smart. I'm the rotten husband of the lead actress, Veronica Smart. And it's like this. It's set in the 1940s America. It's very kind of, well, it's called noir. It's very film noir,
Yeah.
very 40s American style. It's a bit of a detective mystery, bit of sex and murder and intrigue and all that. All that you'd expect from a black and white film. And it's and it was an unbelievable week in January. Like we all bubbled up, and we all had COVID tests and like kept safe. And we literally just practically lived in a warehouse for a week, only met each other, and filmed this entire play in a warehouse on like, it was just, I still can't believe we kind of pulled it off, really, because he's and Craig and Carl, the two guys who run Vertigo, have spent months editing this. Like, we're in WhatsApp groups and they're talking about the amount of days they have been staring at flipping my mug and all this, trying to get it all to make sense. So yeah, I mean, there's links on my Instagram and stuff to Vertigo Theatre Productions. Cool. You can buy a Blu-ray, you can rent it online, and I think it's just the amount of effort that's gone into it just to get a bit of a viewership on it would be great.
Fantastic.
But apart from that, I'm always doing stuff, bits and bobs. Just give me a watch and I'm happy to work with you. Come at me.
Top man. Oh man, listen, I could talk to you all day about this and stuff, but I appreciate your time, and thanks for chatting to me. And listen, said you work your hard, you work so hard, you work your off. And best of luck to you, best of luck with your projects and with your career going forward. And
cool.
And I'm sure, mate, you say your upward trajectory and keep it going.
Plenty still to do, mate. Plenty still to do, but yeah,
it's an exciting future. But take care of yourself, and I'll speak to you soon, man.
Cheers, mate. Thank you very much.
Bye.